Everybody's having a good night, and if the light kind of flicks, I have the TV on. So this dream is from 2015, but I find it interesting compared to what some other people have had, some other videos I've seen tonight, and I thought that I would post this one. I'm going to read the dream and then interpret the thing as I go along. And then there's more after that. September the 16th, 2015. I dreamed it was afternoon in Georgia. The end of the prophetic day is afternoon. And I was on the way to the place where my mom and her boyfriend met. This has been 35 years ago. My mother's not alive, and I doubt this other guy's even alive anymore. I don't know if he is. He'd be about 90 years old. But anyway, where my mom and Bill Payton was his name, boyfriend, met way back in the early 80s at Lake Allatoona. A lake is a ministry, and it's a parable meaning all. Allatoona. The part that's important is all. So this place, we nicknamed it the Rock. Jesus is the Rock. We went there, and we were there. I needed to go to the restroom, so I saw to walk 100 feet from the large rocks to the restroom. And you know, I was going, the dream briefly changed to a grocery store. That represents like spiritual nourishment, or nourishment, you know, in the spiritual language. So I was in a grocery store, and I uttered this. It was a Walmart that I was in. I'm sure tired of walking around in this bone dry hell. And the dream changed back. So this restroom I went in, the restroom represents getting rid of spiritual stuff that's weighing you down that you don't need, or you know, spiritual cleansing. So I went in this restroom at the Rock, and you know, Jesus cleans us. The doors were both standing open. You know, the Bible says Jesus is the door, and they were brown. You know, we walk around in sin, you know, and we deserve death. And you know, the leaves turn brown and all that, you know, that's death. And so I went in the men's side, and there were seats, meaning chairs like you sit in. And there was just a few. And on the way, I said that veg-all has seen its better days, and I poured out carrots on the ground. And you know, it's like all these strict diets, you know, in a spiritual language. You know, our works doing good, and you know, talking about the vegetables, and then all that veg-all, and then rabbits like carrots, and the rabbit hole, I poured the veg-all out on the ground. And I said it has seen its better days, meaning that Babylon's days, you know, we're pretty much done. I poured it out, and you know, the judgment is poured out. And so in the restroom, I sat near the faucet, and you know, Jesus is the water faucet. And I was thirsty, and it has been in my life, it's been bone dry. And I had a 10-ounce cup. 10 is perfect divine order. And for like 30 to 45 minutes, I just kept drinking water. And the Holy Spirit usually represents water, because this was drinking water. So then I looked outside. A storm was coming. The judgment on Babylon, and this storm, you know, is a parable of the war. So the war was coming out of the west, the end of days. Then a voice said, they tested the tornado sirens yesterday, or they tested the trumpets yesterday. And you know, tornadoes represent war. So I walked across Highway 41, and you know, Job is the 18th book, and you know, Job 41 about the children of pride. So I walked across Highway 41, and their way, you know, in their own mind of pride was high. It was a highway. And that's why 41, Job 41. Then all of a sudden, I saw the wind pick up, and you know, the pine trees bent over, and you know, trees represent people and nations and things, and then it rained, and it rained hard. And at the same time, I kept running and drinking water in the bathroom. Then the bathroom turned into a vehicle, which means after we get cleansed, you know, our chariot, you know, you need to start looking for your chariot, start taking you home. Well, the man beside me didn't like all the drinking water I did, and you know, that represented the devil. The devil doesn't want you, you know, drinking things of God. Well, the storm died down, and if you get saved, it'll die down. Then I heard tornado sirens, which is parabolic of the trumpet. So, from the rock, we headed a mile south to Allatoona, Proctor. And you know, that's like a person, you know, to keep order in a school, university, or college. And you know, in this case, it represents the one of the New World Order. And then I saw a black cloud over Allatoona, Proctor, and you know, that's parabolic in this dream. The cloud was black, so that tells you it's of the enemy, darkness. And I said, y'all, that's on the ground, large tornado. And you know, that's parabolic of this war that's coming, a large tornado. I looked and I said, no, it was smoke. And you know, the smoke of Babylon's burning this thing that looked like a tornado. And you know, there was a funnel. Then I saw 5 smokestacks. And you know, they were like a nuclear power plant. Well, the answer to that, go listen to the Cult do the song Fire Woman. And that's the smokestack lightning they talk about for you. That's why it's on the album Sonic Temple, and you can figure it out from there. So this was at a nuclear power plant, and you know, that's pretty straightforward. I kept hearing tornado sirens and looking at the low-hanging wall cloud. You know, Wall Street, you know, and Walmart, the world's largest retailer. And, you know, the storm comes out of a wall cloud, and I'll smite the wall with a stormy wind. I think it's Ezekiel 13:11, I think it is. And the cloud was sort of green. I know I saw 2 like pillars of real black smoke coming out of the 2 stacks, looking like a wedge tornado on the ground. The dream changed back to the rock, or it changed back to Jesus, which all he wants to come, and you know, to get off of 41. So we went back to the rock at Allatoona Lake on Highway 41. I was still drinking water, you know, out of the 10-ounce cup, perfect divine order. And then I said, well, when I get home, home refers to heaven. They'll have that big cup that says QT on it waiting. Well, when you go in the rapture, that's a real quick trip. And then I told them, I said, y'all, the gutters on this bathroom building need cleaning out, and the gutters represent thoughts in our mind that we need to get rid of and get cleaned out, that unfortunately I'm in sin and I'm failing at right now. And then another said, the Corps of Engineers, or the Corps, wouldn't like you doing that. I said, yeah, I know it's insurance and safety, representing the insurance and safety of this world that's nothing without Jesus. And then wouldn't like you doing that. And then I said, it's no good anyway. So I began cleaning the gutters out just on the corner only. Well, the cornerstone of Babylon will be cleaned out and thrown down. And that's why it was on the corner of the bathroom, spiritual cleansing. So I started cleaning out sticks and rust, which represents that turning back into dust, and leaves and dirt. I cleaned them. I still heard tornado sirens faint in the distance. The winds in the storm I saw probably were 50 to 55 miles per hour, and that's Pentecost. And grace, and then Babylon's death, all at the same time. And that's the dream I had. And the meaning to it, again, don't seek Chad, go seek God. So let's look at this thing called the Manhattan Project. That's where, for World War II, was a project to build the first atomic bomb. And most of that took place in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Well, oak trees represent strong nations, strong men, and stuff in the Bible, and it's a parable for America, in this thing. You have Manhattan, New York, and so, they had the little boy and the fat man, that they dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima over in Japan. Well, they did the bomb test at a place called Trinity, and there's a dark Trinity too. Think like children, July 16th, 1945. And the Manhattan Project began in 1939. 39 is sickness and disease. And the name Roswell, that everybody talks about, simply means mighty horse, and there's a bunch of them in Revelation 6. And, Jesus is coming back on the biggest one there at the last, and the Alamo, Los Alamos, is where this was a poplar cottonwood tree, and had another dream, that they were cutting cottonwood trees, and they didn't want me around that job, or the devil didn't want me around that job, is what it meant in this other dream. And another topic for another time, and that's what happened to me there. And the Corps of Engineers headed the Manhattan Project. So there you have that. So in closing, this happened to me, and this was not a dream. I think in November 2015, one Saturday, November 2015, in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, I walked in real life, not a dream, through downtown. And for no reason, I looked where the little market thing is. It's a circular thing, got a gazebo in the middle, and by the railroad there, and these concrete like balls, on the post, and so I looked on the brick. I saw in white chalk the word eternity written. And then I walked up the sidewalk. I saw it again, and like on the third time, I heard the tornado sirens start going off on a sunny day. And it came to pass that in downtown, I saw the word eternity written in white and light blue chalk. A total of 7 times I saw it, because I counted them. And with no testing the tornado sirens, that was not a dream. That was real life. And I thought I would post this, since somebody else in the community dreamt about Walmart and all that stuff, and I watched it, and I thought I would post this about the rock. And the boyfriend's name was Bill Payton, and our sin debt is a bill, and Jesus paid the debt, and he went down into the den of hell and paid the debt. So you have Bill Payton, and then that was tied to Lockheed, and, you know, need to heed the warning, you know, so you don't get locked up in hell. Lockheed. You get the parable? Everybody have a good night, and it kind of makes me laugh.